Well, hello, and welcome to the Temporary Stand podcast. And this is edition number 44. Another wee break, but some of the lads are back to work. So I sat down with Marty and Richie and we discussed the world of Celtic. We'll have a look at the squad, the new guys, the old guys, the manager, and we'll look at Peter Law, the whole shebang. We're a wee bit rusty as we settle back in the plodding world. And Marty sounds a wee bit dodgy, but if you bear with it, he'll be fine. So as always, catch you on the flip side.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the Temporary Stand podcast number 44. It's Marty here in Belfast and tonight I'm joined by Scotty Boy.
How's it going, lads?
Down in deepest, darkest Drogheda, Richie Kid.
How you doing, Marty?
So we're in the middle of the transfer window. It's been about 6 months since we've had a chat. Boys off having babies and various different things, but I was remarking to you, Scott, a couple of days ago, this is one of the weirdest transfer windows, I think, in years. It's been very odd, hasn't it?
Aye, it's strange. He comes out with his intent straight away, and the Icelandic boy comes in early and stuff. But it's the same as in the summer where we done all our early stuff. It kind of seemed to fade away, and now you don't really want to be, but you've got a feeling we're going to be dragged into this last minute thing that seems to everybody in England seems to love. There's talk tonight as we go, and they were after a couple of Israeli boys. I think I was reading that earlier on in the day. I don't know. I just think there's something around the whole club, never mind just the transfers, that everybody seems a wee bit detached from it. Does anybody else get that feeling?
Well, that was sort of my point. It sort of feels a wee bit like transfer window fatigue. You know, like we sort of know what we're. You know, years ago, when all this only started, it was like hyper excitement and trying to cram all your signings in there quickly. And if Celtic didn't move quick enough, you were going mental. And now everybody just seems to shrug their shoulders. Is that right?
Aye, well, I would agree with Scott. I feel a wee bit maybe detached from it as well. I'm not too worried about signing anybody else. I think we know by now that the transfer window in January is really not a good place to shop in unless you're like Man United and you can go and spend 40 million quid on somebody that's whose club are willing to sell them. But I was quite happy to get the boy Johansson, and I don't know anything about him, but at least he's a kind of signing. We got it done. There was no will we, won't we. There was no last minute stuff. I'm happy just to get a couple of guys in early enough in the window and then go on with it. I don't think we're going to get anybody in. A couple of Israeli boys, does that excite anybody? No. We've signed people for Israel before, and it's not. They might be good players, who knows, but it's not going to get anybody excited. So hopefully these two guys. I don't think these two guys are going to actually do much this season. Like most of the signings, they might be next season before they really cement their place in the squad. Really, Lennon seems to take a long time putting people in. The likes of Beaton and all those kind of guys are still not been assimilated into the squad. So no, I'm not going to get annoyed. I'm not going to sit up and watch Sky Sports till midnight on transfer window night like you, Marty. I know you get excited. By that boy Charlie for Sky Sports News. But is that his name?
Smiley Charlie. Smiley Charlie Patterson. Smiley Charlie.
I'm more interested in the football this month rather than the transfer. I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday.
So things have changed a bit with Celtic, though. Do you know, Richie? I think there's a lot of indecision amongst the Celtic support, and I include myself with that. Do we really want to? Do we really need to go and sign these guys? Go and sign these guys this summer, because we know the league's all wrapped up, and Neil Lennon, the way he's playing it, he's kind of playing it. I'm sure we'll come to it later on. He's playing it safe. He goes back to his regulars for the games until the game's done. Do you know what I mean? His main aim is now the Scottish Cup and keeping the unbeaten run, and that's two good targets, two hard targets. But I think the Celtic fans were kind of going, do we really need to go and sign? Should we hold our water to the summer, see who kind of leaves, what we need to bring in, rather than go and spend on what we think we need to know? because we're obviously, we don't really need anybody else to win the league. But to touch on what you're saying, Richie, I also think there's an element of frustration. Now, I mean, when we got Wanyama and we got all these guys who we hadn't heard of, and they've come in and done the job, I think there was a bit of excitement with that. However, over the past year, we've got near beat on in. We had Rogic in with the two strikers, Baldy and Pookie, and Nate and Bangura, even Boricta, and none of them have really grabbed the header. Obviously, Van Dijk's a standout by a mile, but nobody's really set the header on fire that you're kind of new a wee bit, do we really want to see another guy come in and just let us down? Or not turn it on rather than let us down?
Richie?
Aye. I mean, but like you're saying, a lot of the signings, we went through a quite a good patch where we signed a good few players who turned out to be quality, and then we sold them. We had Wanyama, we had kind of thinking off the top of my head, but we had Key, who was decent, and we sold him for good money for $6 million. We sold Wanyama for 10, and then we've went through a patch of signing players who are not really who haven't progressed as much as that, or who are just playing crap, like the likes of Pookie. So I know what you mean. I don't get excited anymore because the money we're spending, the market we're shopping in, we're either going for young guys before anybody else gets them, and who have just got maybe a bit of potential, or we're going for. I think Len maybe was allowed to buy players who weren't in that bracket, who didn't ever sell on value, particularly like Boricta, who's already been a bit of a flop at Ajax, but he was allowed to sign him. That kind of goes against what we've been doing in the past, and he's turned out to be a disaster. I don't think he's ever. Yep. So it's just hard. I don't think we can expect Celtic to sign Wanyamas all the time. If you're shopping in that kind of market, it's totally hit and miss, and it's more miss than hit. We've got Van Dijk, who looks a class player in the SPL anyway, and he did look pretty good in the Champions League. So I think we're going to sell him, and obviously inevitably, and maybe in the summer, or maybe we'll get another year out of him, and that would be a success as far as Celtic are concerned. And the only thing is, I'm sure we haven't got a striker. We just haven't replaced Hooper. That's the main thing, isn't it? We just haven't come close. We're a bit of a one-man team at the moment. If there was if you took Commons out of that team, I don't think we'd lose a lot of games because our defence is solid this year, but we certainly we'd have a lot more draws on the books than we do.
Right, do we really want to be talking about how we're playing just now? Because I've got an opinion on the Stokes thing, to be fair.
Well, fair on. Yes, go ahead, Scotty. We'll take it as a couple. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm flinging myself open for ridicule and criticism here, right? But see Chris Commons, he reminds me almost of how Chelsea set them up under Mourinho when Frank Lampard first kind of came to superstardom. Frank Lampard was hitting 20-30 shots every game, and he was generally getting a goal every 2 games, wasn't he? He was scoring between 15 and 20 goals a season. So the strikers, as a result, you never had like a Suarez type striker who was scoring a goal every game. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that might be true of Celtic just now, because we certainly don't feed the strikers. And you look at when Commons gets the ball, Commons' first instinct isn't to play a killer pass or to play a nice wee through ball. His first instinct is to get the ball, find himself some space, and have a smash at goal. So we've got Bangura. Sure, he didn't look the part, but Stokes has scored goals in the past. Samaras even scored goals in the past. Piku scored goals somewhere else. Baldy, whatever. And not all of them can be minging. Do you know what I mean? So I don't.
Carry on. I was talking about just on the point. I was talking about Stokes on the huddle board, I think, a couple of days ago. What I was arguing was this guy isn't working any less hard. Look, he's putting the effort in on the pitch, but it seems to me that there's nobody really linking between middle and front to feed him, and he's playing what's now boringly described as the false nine. And he's coming back and playing wide and trying to create. for other players or for himself. You know, you can see him trying to take on people, and he hasn't got the pace to do it. So it's like it's football sort of unknitted. You know, and Commons is not that type of player. You know, Commons is the type of player, he's fantastic at what he does, but it's to the detriment of the strikers. Unless you have a striker like Hooper who's there to pick up everything, you know, you can hit any sort of a goal, and we're just not blessed with that type of player. You know, so I suppose Pookie, I sort of gave up on Pookie a couple of months ago. You're just like, Jesus, you know, what else can this guy? You know, how many other ways are there for this guy to fail? You know, he was going for sort of something like a dozen matches and he hadn't got a sniff. But again, if there was somebody there who was setting him up 8 or 9 chances in a game, then statistics or chances are that he's going to get at least one of them. You know, and then that may do wonders for his confidence. So I think we're a very disjointed team. I think Commons is outstanding and he's having a purple season, but it really is to the detriment of other players around. He's not being played as a striker, he's been played as that floater who should be the luck picker. You know, we've been having this discussion for 2 years.
The guy from Tic Tac Tic had a piece up this week about Chris Commons and his role this season, and he's saying, which I think as well, he is playing as a striker this season. He's our striker. You know, he's playing basically up top, and then you have Stokes. And I know, Marty, you're a Stokes fan, but Stokes is having a very poor season. He's went way after the ball. I think he admitted that himself as well, though. He was disappointed with his goal difference.
But everybody's having a poor season. This isn't a vintage season for us. You know, this is a season we should be absolutely strangling other teams. There's no competition. There's no Huns. There's no, you know, we're not taking tankings off anybody. So, in my opinion, and maybe that's a problem. Maybe that the lack of competitiveness, there's a wee bit of inertia through the whole team. But it's no excuse, you know. And if you had that sort of a player who was a bit more creative and who could excite those around him, never mind the fans, then you might see a better reaction out of some of the players. I think Stokes is, you know, I'm a Stokes fan, no doubt, but he's definitely having a poor season. There's no question about it. The scoring rate is what he's judged on. He's a striker, but I can see him coming down. I've seen him in some of the games at home, and he's playing an hour half. It's crazy.
Like when Saturday, Scott, I was sitting with you, and I wasn't annoyed at him particularly, but you were getting a wee bit more annoyed at him, and then you went and put that daft tackle in on Lasley. Now, I know we thought it was good, but he didn't even get me. It wasn't even a great tackle. He should have broke his leg if he was going to do that. But rather, he just put in a wee lazy one and sent off. He should never have been sent off, of course. But I mean, I said, you know, I like Stokes as well, and I stick up for him. I know a lot of people, even when he was playing well for Celtic, didn't like him for whatever reason. But like I said at the beginning of the season, was a big season for him because Hooper was out. He had a chance to step up and be the main man. And he never did it, and Commons has stood up. Obviously, Stokes is never going to be the main man at Celtic. He's always going to be a second striker, I think, if that. Or you might find we end up Lennon ends up running out of patience with him if Lennon is still here in the immediate future, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Scott, anything else you want to add to that debate?
To get back to my original point, I just think the system maybe has changed. I mean, Stokes, this was a massive season for Stokes. Just as you guys said, it was a massive. Hooper was left, he was your main striker. I think Neil Lennon put some pressure on him by saying as much. It's up for Stokes to stand up and be the man. Baldy came in the summer, and Baldy, right for the off, Baldy was under pressure. I've already told you that I'd heard some of the backroom murmurings that they were talking about 8 and 9 months before the boy will look like a player. He scored a couple of goals, but the sad fact is, if Baldy came in the summer and scored a lot of goals pre-season and started the season on fire, then there wouldn't be the same cry that we're still saying just now, we need a striker. So I feel for Stokes. I definitely feel for Stokes. Because as you say, I think he's trying his hard, but I just think the system doesn't really suit him to do. I don't think it suits any striker, to be perfectly honest. And what is the system?
Well, therein lies the question. I don't see, unless there's major sort of, you know, major structural changes to the side and changes to the spine, I don't see Lennon's approach changing. Really, Richie, do you? I mean, he seems to be just happy to get through this season. not be, I suppose, finish it well enough where nobody can really criticise him. Obviously the European theatre wasn't the highlight that it might have been. So what do you reckon is his approach?
Oh, his approach will be to play the players that he thinks he can trust. Like you say, you said it in the past before about playing the boys. He doesn't trust them, and he feels like he's going to take the blame if he puts boys in. If he listens to what some fans are saying and puts boys in and we get beat, then he'll take criticism, and he's not willing to do that.
Yeah.
Which I suppose you can't really blame him. I mean, it's not like his job's insecure, or people call him for maybe sacked or something. But you'd still get people having a go at him on call-in shows and whatever hotlines and all that kind of stuff.
But that's the job he's in, Richie. To be perfectly honest, football fans are fickle. We know football fans are fickle. But look, I've been listening to a few podcasts about the David Moyes situation down in Manchester, and they were saying that David Moyes takes too much interest with the media say. Whereas you look at Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho says, I'm not playing Marty, does he fit my system? Everybody says, you're after that, Marty's brilliant. Nobody's saying Mourinho's a mug now, are they? Do you know what I mean? Whereas
you're right. Aye. Well, that just shows that's a different mentality. Obviously, Moyes is insecure.
So Neil Lennon.
Whereas Mourinho... Absolutely, Neil Lennon's insecure. You can see this for his interaction with fans on social media. He can't take criticism. And if you want to be on Twitter, then you're going to take abuse. He's not very good at taking it. Even at Celtic fans, and I mean, I don't look at every tweet he writes or whatever, but he's took criticism in the past, and he's not responded to it in a way that's particularly professional, and he's been quite on edge. So it's obvious that he does have a wee bit of a chip on his shoulder, or whatever you want to call it. He's not a big fan of taking it flack. So why would he put himself? And that's no a dig at him. That's common. And most managers like that. O'Neill was like that. O'Neill was terrible. He wasn't able to take any kind of criticism. You've seen some of the interviews he did even after he left Celtic. If anybody questioned him, his hackles would rise. So
that's right.
No, I mean Lennon will play the players he thinks can do a job for him this season and keep his. I don't know what his thinking is, if he wants to stay at Celtic or not, but he wants to. If he gets if he goes through the league season unbeaten this year and wins the double, then his stock is rising. And I'm not saying he wants to leave in the summer, but I think he does have a decent enough reputation down south. So he'd have one eye on that. He's not daft. He does look after himself. We can see that through his the quality clothing line and calendars that we pumped.
What kind of?
Did you buy them? Did anybody buy them?
Oh, I bought them. I bought 12 of them.
We're kind of
one for every month.
We're kind of floating about the joint here because we're sitting talking. But see, Neil Lennon, I was having a wee discussion with somebody over the break, and I have got criticisms, exact same as you two guys. The same as everybody's got criticisms of Neil Lennon. However, I kind of started to feel a wee bit sorry for him. He certainly, Neil Lennon. To be honest, Neil Lennon would rather be in a league with competition. However, he probably sided with us with regards the current buns going tits up. They had to be hit with that punishment, if you want to call it punishment. They had to start again because of the situation. So that's not his fault. You bet Neil Lennon wants to play good football and he wants to bring the young guys in, but he's criticised continuously. He didn't win the League Cup. People are going, surely it should be winning a treble every year. That shouldn't be a problem. But we know football's not like that. And then last year we said, well, Europe's just this take it as it comes. He overachieved, and now because he overachieved, he's getting punished for it this season. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I'm not going to name it. It was a Celtic one, and these guys were ripping into him because he was making a big deal of an unbeaten run. And I'm sitting going, give the guy a break. What can he do? Because he seems to get criticised for anything he does. He seems to get criticised one way or the other. I don't know.
Should he not be going for unbeaten runs?
Of course. And I mean, Richie.
What's the criticism of that? What was the criticism?
The criticism was he was making a big deal about this unbeaten run. And I'm
it's not a big
going,
achievement if he does it.
And I'm sitting going, well, see, to be perfectly honest, last year we sat in this podcast criticising him for no being on an unbeaten run. So I don't know. Yeah. I feel Neil Lennon is in a crappy situation, and I don't think he wants to play rubbish football. I think he would love to play the most. I think he would love to go and sign top-notch players, but he can't. I don't know. I feel for him. I really do feel, because I think he's in a crappy, same as us. I think he's in a crappy situation, and you'll probably find that he doesn't agree with 50% of what the board does either. But that's his job. The one thing that Neil Lennon's probably getting bit in the arse about is he bowed down to the board right for the off. He was a man out of the yes man, and I think it's now kind of biting him on the bum instead of saying, right, no, this isn't good enough, I want that. You know what I mean?
You're right, though. It's an impossible job that he's in. You know, I mean, we can criticise him, but the Celtic job is an impossible job, especially now where there's absolutely no competition. So you're expected to win a treble, even though, I mean, not that we should be losing to Morton again, but to win 3 trophies, for Lennon to keep the players motivated for the entire season in every competition is difficult. So no, I mean, I'm not critical. I think he done all in all. I'm not a big fan of him, but I think he's doing a decent job. He is, certainly. But you're right, though. To criticise him for that kind of stuff is just mental. But that's kind of typical. You know, I don't know who you're talking about, but that's typical of some of the attitude you see about Celtic these days, that we should win every game 5-0, and if we don't, then we're terrible.
And then if you win 5-0, people are going, this is boring.
Exactly.
That's mental. But just we were saying there. Sorry, just to continue the theme, we were talking about the Lennon's sort of not failure, but Lennon's fear or his hesitance to put in young players. But Darnell Fisher's come in this year and seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, we're just talking about, that's what we're referring to as to who he trusts. You know, obviously he's looking at this boy and he's thinking, I trust this boy. I'll put him in against maybe not anybody, but I'll put him in against any SPL team. I'll play him, away from home, whatever. He's played him from the beginning. But Fisher has that thing about him. He doesn't seem fazed by anything. He never seems nervous. He seems to think that I deserve to be in the team and I'm going to prove it. He just seems to be a really good attitude, and I think that's what Lennon will look for. I think he will look to see, are you scared, or are you up for it? And if he thinks you're nervous, or not nervous, but if he thinks you're, if he looks at you and thinks no, he's not up to it, then he's not going to play you. That's why a lot of these guys only getting games. This is why the likes of Dylan McGill's going to get loaned out, because Lennon's looking at him thinking, no, I don't trust you. And you're going to get me beat, and that's it. So you're not playing. So I mean, he will give Forrest as well. He came up through the youth team with him. He obviously knew, this boy has confidence about him. He's gals. He wants to play. He thinks he's good enough. He thinks he's better than everybody. That's what he's looking for. So that's why Fisher's in. I've got to say, I'm a big fan of Fisher for the beginning. He's got, he's not perfect, but he's got a great attitude. Seems to, and he just never shirks a tackle. He's a hard wee bastard. So that's why he's in, and that's why other people, I think we were talking about the boy Fraser, who played against Rennes.
That's right.
He's never been back. So why has he never been back? Obviously, Lennon, he's obviously, he had a decent enough game that night. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to make it, but obviously Lennon just either says, I don't trust you to put in a shift. I don't trust when the opposition are up for it and, we're pinned back, I don't trust you, and you're not getting a game. So, but that's fair enough, though. That's his job. I'm not going to criticise him for that either. That's
the thing, right? So I'm looking at Celtic squad on Wikipedia just now. There might be a couple missing anyway, but I'm looking at it, and so you've got your guys we all know, and let's look at the young guys here. You've got John Hearn. I think John Hearn come on as a sub recently. Right, you've got Atacic, who scored in his one game, never seen again. Joe Chalmers doesn't seem to be trusted at all. Marcus Fraser, as you rightly said, played in that game against Udinese, was it?
Rennes, was it?
Rennes, sorry, it was Rennes, aye. And as you said, never seen again. Lewis Toyston, he's been out on loan the past couple of seasons. I couldn't point to what he looks at. Dylan McGee is still 20. That's what I'd like to be. People always remember. And then you've got Philip Twarzik, who had, I think he had a wee run of 4 or 5 games last season. And you're right what you're saying. There doesn't seem to be a trust in him. And again, that's his decision, because he's attempting to do something new. But there comes for us. I mean, Liam Henderson doesn't seem to have done anything wrong. Every time we see him, I think he looks comfortable and stuff. But is he going to win you a game? I don't know. I can understand why people are getting frustrated, but on the other hand, as we said earlier on, I can understand why Neil Lennon's sticking with what he is.
And you also have to protect these boys for the Celtic support as well. I mean, if you look at the abuse that James Forrest gets, that Ed McGeady used to get, that will kill a boy who's up to it. It seems to, McGeady was a strong character. It didn't seem to bother him. James Forrest, it doesn't seem to affect him at all. The abuse he gets, he must be aware of it sometimes. People just don't seem to understand that a winger's going to lose the ball sometimes. I mean, the boys trying stuff. I mean, on Saturday there, he was the only boy who actually was trying things, who wasn't just passing it on to another teammate, even though we played all right, but he was willing to take chances, and he was the only person that got the crowd excited. And of course, if he excites the crowd 1 minute, then 2 minutes later he tries to do it again and loses the ball. They don't remember the good that we just done. They just gave him the abuse. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's an aspect of what Lennon's trying to do, but you do have to protect boys, especially at Celtic Park, from some elements of the home crowd.
Aye, definitely.
But by the same token, he's flung in Darnell Fisher, and at times Fisher's been pretty rough around the edges, I must confess. As you say, he's got a good attitude, he's got a good engine, but some of his plays been a wee bit dodgy, and that's what you would expect from somebody of that level. But Lennon's kind of stuck with him. He's been lucky in that older players in front of him have maybe been injured, and he's been getting a bit of a turn. But the Celtic fans haven't really turned on him. I have to say, I'm getting the sense that they're giving him a chance, sort of a thing.
I think it comes more back down to Richie. He's playing as right back, and he's beside 2 very strong centre backs, and I don't think he's under much pressure. Don't get me wrong, he's under some pressure, and he's coped admirably. However, he's not that risk player, as Richie rightly says. I think Forrest recently is kind of. I'll tell you, I was up in the posh seats for the what game? Or some game, I can't remember. I was up in the posh seats again. It was great, and Bobby Pett and Dixie Dean's done the tables there. So Bobby Pett comes up, and first things we're talking to him, we're talking about Van Dijk, we're talking about Barrichter, and he noted something about Celtic's system that I've noted as well. Was he says he's always wanted a left winger, and he plays James Forrest as a right winger. Yet we play 2 fullbacks who we expect to go bombing up the line.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is we're just cutting off the space for the wingers, because as soon as the winger gets the ball, you've got 2 guys running into the space where they're expected to go. So I've got to give James Forrest of late has been cutting in, and it's working a hell of a lot. He's playing 1-2s off of Common, 1-2s off of Stokes. Again, Stokes is dropping back, so that's good for him. But it's just a strange system how Celtic play with regards wingers, and you can understand how Barrichter and James Forrest don't work, because they're out and out wingers playing in a small area. Do you know what I mean? So to get back to your point, I think James Forrest is improving, and I think Darnell Fisher has done a job. However, there doesn't seem to be a trust in guys who take the risk, yet everybody seems to be crying out for it. Everybody seems to be saying, we need a guy who'll take a risk.
If he doesn't want to give chances to useless players or people who doesn't, why did Pookie get such a run in the team? It didn't make any sense to me. The fact that he was
it did make sense because, but no, Richie, it made sense because he had paid money for him a short time before, so he's looking and saying, I'm going to have to play him because I paid for him. We actually made a fuss out of the fact that we got him, so I don't think he had any other option.
Yeah, but I remember when we signed I remember when we signed Pookie, and he said something which, he is careful in what he says, and he did make a comment which insinuated that he didn't scout Pookie and didn't sign him. I think he just said something, well, sure, we'll see what he's like, or something to that effect. So I took it for that John Park had basically signed him. Maybe not, but I mean, the amount of time that guy has been given is unreal. I mean, I don't want to harp on about it, but the guy is absolutely, he's overweight, he's lazy, and it's never a Celtic player in a million years. I don't actually know how he managed to end up playing in the Bundesliga for a top 4 team. The mind boggles, but I mean,
he didn't really. That's how he managed to get it. He was.
I know he didn't, but I mean.
So, right. Well, we've comprehensively, I think, looked at the young people, but we're moving on now, I think, to look at some of the more senior players in the squad. As I mentioned at the start of the podcast, we are still in transfer window, and there's 2 very big players hovering over contracts and haven't taken the bait, the nibble off the hook as yet. Scotty, Ledley and Samaras, how do you think these ones are going to pan out, starting with Ledley?
The frustrating thing, right, we'll start off with Ledley. See Joe Ledley. Joe Ledley is a good player. There is no doubt about it. He scored some important goals for us. He scored in Europe, scored against the all fucking devil mob. But this, be honest about it, right? Because it seems to be you're either pro Joe Ledley or you're anti Joe Ledley, and I sit right in the middle. See, be honest, see when Joe Ledley is good, he's good, but he does go missing in the game. That's no people just picking on him. He does go missing in the game, and there's been loads and loads of games I've watched, even at the stadium, and you're sitting there going, well, what is Joe Ledley's no touched the ball. Then you look at the game against Partick Thistle, one of his better games. I think for the amount of, if it's true that he's your top earner, then you've got to be expecting more from him. I would like to have him. I would sign him up only for the reason that he's an asset, that you could sell an asset. But I would not break the bank for him.
But do you think there's a wide range of clubs waiting to sign Joe Ledley? Honestly,
I don't think there's a wide range of clubs. However, I think if available, he would get a move. Aye.
But he is available.
No, I know, but we don't.
He's only got 6 months left in his contract.
We don't know anything that's going on. I think if Joe Ledley, I say Joe Ledley probably had offers.
Well, what I heard was that his agent was punting him around clubs in England. I think I mentioned this to you anyway. The agent made the mistake of quoting a figure to the clubs that he'd been talking to say, oh, Celtic have offered him this, but if you offer him that, he'd come to use. And the other clubs sort of looked at him and went, well, wait, you should take it. In other words, we don't value him. Mm-hmm. We don't value this guy as high as he values himself, or we don't value him as high as you're telling us that Celtic value him. So to me, there isn't a wide range of clubs out there where he can go, and make a fortune. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. He is a good player. He's a solid player, mm-hmm. But I don't think he can stand out for any teams. If you were scouting a midfielder, he wouldn't really catch your eye. We would probably see him often, and you think, yeah, he's solid, he's good. He keeps things tidy and he's whatever else. But Richie, what do you think?
Joe Ledley, I would agree with both of you. Like, I think you made a good point, Scott, the other week, that if he does, it's not a case of if you don't see him in the game that he's doing the ugly work or he's doing work you don't see. He's just not playing well. I mean, football it's not a big. You think he was away on a mission or something and you can't see him, but the football pitch is a smaller place. If somebody's playing well and putting the work in, or somebody's, I mean, to me, I think Ledley, he's capable of the good performances he put in. He's capable of a lot more of them, but a lot of the time he doesn't put the effort in. No surprise that when his contract comes up, he seems to play well. To me, I think that's true about a lot of these players. If there's bonuses up for grabs or new contracts, then they seem to up their game. But I could see him playing in the Premiership for Stoke or Hull or Cardiff or any of the name. The likes of Charlie Adam and Glenn Whelan can play for them, and some of the other guys that we see that we know are the up to 18 who were average in the SPL. You could get a game for Norwich or something like that. You know, I mean, the amount of SPL players they've in their team, so he could easily do a job down there. He's not, you know, and I don't know how much he earns at Celtic Park. I'd maybe say he earns 25 grand a week. So
he does. He's earning between. He must be earning around about 25,000, and the figure that I was told that his agent was quoting other clubs was 30. And that he was telling them that during the contract negotiations, Celtic got offered, and the other clubs were on if Celtic got offered, not tell them to take it.
Exactly, I would say the same. So we paid him 25 grand a week. So we paid him about 4 million quid so far in wages. I don't know what you give a player like that when you as a signing on fee. So we've £4 million. Say we've spent on Joe Ledley. I don't think it's been a great return. It's not bad, but no good, so good that you'd pay him another 4 million quid. So I don't. That's 8 million quid you're going to have spent on Joe Ledley. I mean, I'd rather spend that on a striker and replace him with Beaton or something like that, or somebody else. So who's on, a third of that.
Well, I think the talk was this guy Johansson coming in was the natural. He would be the one who would step into Ledley's boots. What do you think?
There's a madness of this Johansson, isn't there? Was it yourself that was telling me there was a talk show and they were sitting going, yeah, this guy number 10, he'll sit there and he'll pick a pass, and then they interviewed the boy and the boy says, well, yes, I'm a defensive player. So I don't really know.
No, it was It was what's his face used to play for Aberdeen, and the whole preamble to the chat with him was, oh, this guy's going to create. He's a number 10. And then Stavron went, yes, a very good player, but his best work is done defensively. You're like, for fuck's sake. I suppose he's cracking on there with Ledley, but what about Samaras, Scott? What do you think is going to happen with the Greek god?
Samaras. The thing with Samaras is I didn't hate him as much as some people hated him back in the day. I did.
Is that the best thing you can say? Is that the best thing you can say?
No.
I didn't hate him as much as everybody else.
I didn't hate him as much as everybody else. I didn't think he was as bad as everybody made him out. I did feel his time at Celtic was done, in fairness. However, on the flip side, as of late, I didn't think he was as good as everybody made out. I think, again, it comes to Samaras. See Samaras last year when you had Kelvin Wilson busting his arse in the Champions League, Gary Hooper helping out, scoring goals, you had Chris Commons scoring goals, and you had Victor Wanyama just ripping up the place in centre midfield. Samaras was allowed to be your kind of, you put him out there, and if he won your game, outstanding. If he never, don't worry about it, because we had the defence sorted, midfield was sorted, and we had guys who could score goals. So we were not relying on this guy like we had been previously when all the frustration came in. This season we came in, we didn't have a goal scorer, we weren't strong in midfield, we had a good defence, however our defence were undone because they weren't protected as Wanyama did. So you were relying on Samaras again, and all the backlash started again, because Samaras, as Richie said earlier on, Samaras is a guy who's going to attempt to beat guys, and 50% of the time he's not going to beat a guy. And again, see the way Samaras played this season, it's the exact same as he played last season, except for last season he maybe got a wee break here, he beat a guy this time. I don't think he puts any less effort in this year. So I think if you're going to get a strong team and supplement it with Samaras, then I don't see a reason why you don't keep him. However, if we're going into next season relying on him, then he's not going to do it. He's not a guy you can build your house on. So to answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah, Richie, do you not know?
Mixed feelings about Samaras like everybody else. I don't know. I'm no desperate to keep him, and I'm no desperate to get rid of him. Or how much money does he earn? I don't know. We shouldn't really talk it in these terms, but I don't get frustrated. I never really did get frustrated with him. I know some people just hated him, absolutely despised him.
One of their good friends.
One of their good friends, aye. The first time he'd lose the ball, it would just be the abuse he would take. And I suppose I kind of didn't stick up for him particularly, but I certainly never felt that way about him. But then again, I didn't hero worship O'Meara last season. You know, he was good, but he had, like Scott says, he went missing quite a bit as well. So if I was Samaras, I would leave. You know, if he can get a decent team in Turkey or something like that, you know, why wouldn't he go there? He's played in the SPL for 6 years, for 5-6 years now. Why would you stay? I don't know. And you know, you're playing in this league, and Celtic fans, you won't, you know, will quickly be forgotten about. So I don't know. I don't know if Lennon wants to keep him particularly. So to be honest, I'm not that fussed.
No. In fairness to him as well, I think this season, he has had a poor season, but he was injured as well, and he was clearly in one of the European matches. It might have been the Barcelona match, whatever game it was. He was clearly injured. You know, it was a bad management decision to put him on the pitch at all. You know, it was a game goes back to Lennon's door. But I think for me, I would get rid of the two of them now, because they're both on heavy wages, and there's not going to be. I don't think you're going to see anything better of them at Celtic than we've already seen. You know, so I think it might be time to give them the hoof. So Scott, give us a
both of them, keep the wages and buy a striker.
Yeah, I mean, I would be
pull the wages, and you know, don't bother trying to replace Samaras, because let's face it, there's not many players like him out there, and I don't mean that in as praise. So I mean, you know, take the wages and pull them and spend 3 or 4 million on a striker, 5 million, and you know, get some goals in the bloody team. That's what people want to see. That'll get fans coming back.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, man, right? Just to summarise, in my opinion, I think under Neil Lennon, the majority of this squad, the guys that he trusts, know the minimum they have to do to succeed at Celtic. I don't think Stokes, as much as we're saying we don't think Stokes is necessarily being lazy, and I don't think Samaras is being lazy. I don't think these guys are getting 100% every week. I really don't think anybody at the club is busting their arse. So, in summary to me, as much as I've flabbered on about Joe Ledley and Samaras, if these guys go, I'm not going to break my heart about it. I don't think there's many guys outside of Virgil van Dijk, and I include the keeper here. I don't think there's many guys outside that I would be that worried if we'd sold. And I don't say that in terms of, yes, we've got a great bank balance, because you know me personally, as I always say, I never get a share of the dividend, so I don't really want to sell somebody, do you know what I mean? But I just think the squad is stagnating a bit. So, in my opinion, and again, I've defended Neil Lennon on this, either the manager walks away and it comes in new that way, or he clears out a good wad of the players, because I think a load of them are living on I only need to do this, and once you kind of get to that level, it's really, really hard. It's already hard to play in the SPL and then lift yourself up for Champions League. However, if you're going into the SPL with a bad attitude and then get into the Champions League, it's even harder. So I don't know, that's just my opinion.
As Jack Stein once told Alex Ferguson, never fall in love with a player because it'll only break your heart. I think that sums that up pretty well. Right, we'll park that conversation, because if we manage to get a podcast out at any time in the near future, I'm sure all these things are going to be mulled over, particularly in the wake of the transfer window closing. I think it's this day week, isn't it? Next Thursday? I think it's shut. So we'll have a week of this sort of
next Friday,
so it'll be 12 o'clock Friday night, or no, in Scotland it'll be 8 o'clock on Friday morning.
Whenever the Hunters are done, do
whatever they have to do. So so we'll probably return to this if we can get back together around the table. Right, so I suppose we need to look ahead a wee bit some of the upcoming games. Richie, you said you're looking forward to the game of the weekend. Hibs always have a goal, don't they?
Aye, it's just they've seemed to have beat us a couple of times. The last times we beat Easter Road, it was annoying me. And they beat us Boxing Day last year, I think it was. And did they beat us after that as well? I can't remember. No, maybe they never. They took the lead, and I think we came back and beat them. But anyway, it annoys me losing to them. I hate them. So and it's always good there. But I don't know, we've played them since Butcher took it either, have we? So they're going to be up for it. And, I mean, they're always up for it anyway. They put it in the moves. But it's just, I know Hibs are pretty bad this season, but it's one of the bigger games. and I always like going Easter Road. So I am looking forward to it and get back to the football, and that's what we want to see. And I was at the Motherwell game, and I thought it was quite good.
I thought it was alright as well.
Aye. So hopefully we can play. I hope he just doesn't start playing. I mean, I don't want to keep going on, but I hope he doesn't bring in the guys who haven't been doing it. I think he should, stick with Forrest and Commons, and I suppose Stokes, if he's not going to play anybody else, and just play those guys and really go for it. And I mean, the good thing is our defence is so right. That's the ironic thing this season. Well, the best defence we've had must be the best defence we've had in, I don't know, since the O'Neill days. In terms of the goals we're letting in, and just you feel like you're not waiting for a sieve moment every time. With Ambrose and Van Dijk are excellent together, and we've got two decent fullbacks. So we should be able to take it to Hibs and get a couple of early goals and enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to watching it.
Scotty, looking forward to the game?
Aye, just exactly what Richie says there. I don't have the same intent hatred of Hibs as he does. I do have for Terry Butcher though, so
that was going to be my next question.
I did enjoy Saturday after a wee self-imposed break I had of games, generally for reasons of drink. So I'm not making the game frustrating enough because my team have got a game on Sunday, but I'm looking forward to it. It's the harder the games are, and you know yourself, you mark down Hibs and you mark down Aberdeen. No matter what nick Hibs and Aberdeen are in, you always mark it down as toughie. It's the same as Tynecastle. Even though we pumped out the Hearts a good few times, next time we go to Tynecastle we'll go toughie. So this will be a hard one. Butcher knows how to compact his team. If they come out and play the football and we come out and play football, then it should be good. I still expect us to win though.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right. Who do you see him start with up front? Stokes is out. Amido Baldy. Does Baldy get a goal? Pookie on his own. Commons on his own. The big
cry out seems to be for Baldy. He seems to be catching a bit of pace. You guys earlier on saying why is he gave Pookie a long run. However, this is something we've all been saying. This give somebody a proper run in the team and find out if the guy's going to cut it or no. I think you guys have already came to the conclusion that Pookie's a dumpling. So maybe it is Big Baldy's turn to go and lead the line. Maybe somebody's sitting off him. I don't know. Do you go with the two of them because the two of them seem to do the job in that Turkey tournament? But I don't know. You'll probably find Samaras floating about somewhere.
Probably would. Richie, what do you think? Will Pookie start on his own at the weekend or what?
Probably will, and just put me right after the game. I don't see why you can't give Baldy a chance.
I mean, I don't think he's as bad as people are making out. He's rough. He's a Darnell Fisher. He's not a finished article, but he seems to know where the goal is. Is that not what we're looking for? Baldy, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He scored 2 goals. He scored against, was it Partick Thistle and Kilmarnock? I mean, he knows how to score. And against, I know they were friendlies in Turkey, but his touch is pretty bad. Let's face it. And he doesn't seem to have much of a football brain, but he knows he can run. He can run in a straight line, and he can hit a shot, which in the SPL for the rest of the season might cut it. I certainly don't think, unless there's a big improvement, that he's going to be a superstar at Celtic. I don't see why he can't give him a game. The guy, he's not awful. He's pretty limited, but he's not a Bangura. I would put Pookie in the same level as Bangura, so I don't see why.
What about Frindongenson or Frindongenson or whatever the bloody hell his name, Holbert?
The French. I meant to talk about him earlier. Is he a midfielder or is he a striker?
I think he's a striker, do you know?
Richie, is he a striker?
He's a striker, aye. I really don't know anything about the boy. I wouldn't expect to see him much at all if we even see him this season. I don't know how. We just don't know the dynamic at Celtic. Does Lennon know anything about this guy? Is he pleased when one of John Park's left field signing turns up, or is he thinking or does he have a downer on the guy? We just don't know his attitude towards these signings, because it hasn't worked out very well so far for a lot of them. Interested to see Johansson, but who knows? I don't know. I don't know anything about this guy Holbert. I see him the odd time on Twitter. He seems to have a bit of a sense of humour or something. So, which is more than Johansson, which is my anecdote for the weekend, is that we were in the Corinthian and Johansson was in the casino, sitting, concentrating very hard on, I think he was playing 21s. He was like him by himself sitting there, and a couple of the guys out of the way trying to get a photo taken with him, but his bouncers or his mates or something just weren't having it whatsoever. And then one of the boys actually just stood behind him and got a photo taken. And Johansson didn't crack a light at all. He just kept staring at his cards. So I don't know if we should be glad that he's a bit rude and there's no time for supporters. Or this was 3 in the morning right now. or that he's got good his concentration is good. I can vouch for that. So hopefully he can bring that on. He can bring that onto the pitch, because he doesn't let any idiots distract him from the job in hand. So that's possibly a good thing.
I wonder how I get on with Scott Brown. I was going to ask you something else about him. It's escaped me. Going back to Baldy, he's a big article, isn't he? Like, so who would he be up? Who's defending for Hibs at the minute? You know, would a big striker or a big heavy effort like himself be good for beating around the back line with those guys, or would you prefer 2 wee guys like Commons and Pookie? I'm just trying to think of who the defenders are. It escapes me. So I suppose that's a choice Lennon has for the weekend. I suppose.
That's it.
Paul,
although I don't know if I'd call Pookie a wee guy.
Paul Hanlon, McPeak.
Hanlon and McPeak. Oh,
Alan,
fair enough. Then.
according to this, Alan Mabry's at them. Is that right? I never noticed that.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, surely he's retired. No.
Maybe it's a different.
Is it that one?
The
Dublin Hunt?
He's Irish, and he's only bucking a year older than me, Marty. Just a young buck.
He's had a hard fucking paper round anyway. Scumbag. Don't get me started. Right, so we've covered the bases for next weekend. Any other games, cup games, any other matches looking forward? Scott, a couple of days ago you were trying to work out when we'll win the league. If we keep going the way we're going, would you prefer a rocky road into the win, or would you prefer to just sail right through and then throw on kids for the rest of the season? Would Leonard be happy enough if you won every game up to the day we won the league and then experiment, or will he just keep going for the full season?
Well,
unbeaten?
I don't know. That I suppose he's kind of set his head on being unbeaten, which then goes against putting in the young guys, because he's going to stick with the guys who've done him well. Martin O'Neill, first year he strolled to the league. I think who beat us that season? The Curtin Buns beat us 5-1, and then I think we get beat the last 3 games or something. Did we know? But once we won,
Dundee beat us. No. After we won the league, we had a cracking win at Easter Road that year, but 5-0. Do you remember that one?
Kamala or something like that. Anyway.
Last 2, I think, was Panic and Dundee, because I was at the Dundee match. Jesus Christ, it was brutal. 2-0. I remember being there. Richie, what do you think he'll do?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much it means. I'd say Lennon would like to do it, but I don't know how much it means to the players to go unbeaten. I don't know if they'd be that bothered come March or April or May when the league's done.
Would they be on a big bonus for doing something like that?
I don't think they would they, for going through unbeaten? Yeah. I mean, it's funny, just talking about bonuses, I was reading that Secret Football book a few months ago, and just some of the stuff he was talking about, I was thinking, that explains some of the subpar performances at Celtic Park. So I think if you got a few bonuses for that kind of thing, then you might see them play a bit better. I mean, I think that's sometimes why they don't cut it in the League Cup. Well, obviously they're not on big money to win it. Yeah, probably on their money to win the Scottish, so that's why we end up winning it.
What's the examples from the book?
From the League Cup?
What's the example from the book?
Just basically that if the players weren't on big bonuses, they weren't asked.
Is that right?
Games.
Right.
Is that stinking, isn't it?
Basically, that's what you said. I don't know. I mean, I'd take that book with a pinch of salt, but that makes sense to me. Why couldn't they beat Morton? Why are they so rubbish in the League Cup constantly? Why do certain players play better when they're looking for a contract? I mean, nobody questions that, so I don't think it's a step too far to think that if they're thinking to themselves. I mean, you've got to remember, if in our jobs, if we weren't incentivised, the players don't support Celtic. They don't. It's a job to them. So I mean, if you're getting into your work and there's something's worth 10 grand to you, and you go in the next day and you're asked to do a job and it's worth nothing to you bar your basic wage, you're going to put the same effort in, because I know I wouldn't. So I mean, it just makes sense that they wouldn't bother so much. So I don't think they'll be that bothered about the unbeaten record unless Lennon can really. But we've seen in the past where Lennon, the players seem unmotivated, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens towards the end of the season. I'm not going to go bananas about it anyway. It would be nice, but the league's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would explain a few things. Especially, what I always find strange is then if you're putting young players in the cups, you would expect young players to be absolutely buzzing themselves to win. And it's often not the case. Often it just sort of peters out. You look at our results in the League Cup over the last 10 years. I think we'll probably draw that out. It's always a very disappointing competition for us. But anyway, Scotty, have you anything else to add before we wrap this farce up?
Well, I'd like to ask you two, just a general question, right? A general question that could lead on to for our next half an hour, to be perfectly honest. But what is the malaise around the support and the club now? Because I can't really put my finger on it, right? We had the meeting last night, the Celtic Trust meeting last night, and I think it was 200 folk took time out to attend it. And I heard, and from what I read online, it seemed to be looking at the points that I find a wee bit worrying. However, we've already pinpointed that we're kind of got a malaise over the squad. The Green Brigade thing seems to have upset, I'd say, certainly a large minority of the support. The attendances haven't been great. I dare say season tickets will be doing again next season. Is it just a whole cluster of things? Richie, what do you think?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, it's different because I moved over to Ireland, so I've been a bit of an armchair fan for years now. But I mean, guys, we were talking about it at the game and in the pub and whatever, why people aren't going and all this kind of thing. But there's a whole range of things. I think if the football was good, if there was competition, I mean, then you would get a lot of people going back. You're playing in a totally uncompetitive. You're asked to pay for something, call it a product, call it whatever you like, where the ending. You're going to win the league at the end of the season, and you're going to be turning up to 18 games, some of which are going to be not very good, and then you're playing against bad opposition. So you're not seeing the players that you used to see when people first started buying season tickets. You've got to remember, season tickets are a relatively new phenomenon. You know what I mean? So people, when they started buying season tickets, they went to see Viduka, they went to see Di Canio, Van Hooijdonk, all these players, and now the standard has dropped so badly that it's unrecognisable for the players that you were watching 10 years ago. So I think that's merely a factor than the Green Brigade thing.
Just that the football's been gumph.
Most people, the football's gumph, and there's no competition. There's absolutely none. I mean, even when the Huns were still in, it was dropping off a wee bit, but it's fell off the cliff. Let's not kid ourselves. It's fell off the cliff since they left. And next season, I think the season tickets are going to drop again. I mean, I don't know how many people they kept this season by dropping the £100. I know they said it was a one-off, but there's no way you can put your prices up, which is essentially what they'd be doing, on £100 on a product that's no any better than it was last season. In fact, it's worse. So season tickets are at where they're at until Rangers come back, or whatever you want to call them, whenever they come back. And if you want to hear, Celtic are totally dependent on Rangers coming back. They think they will come back in the next couple of seasons, and they don't even want to think about the fact that Sevco might go bust and they'll be starting from scratch. I mean, I think that's a bigger factor than people with the posts, and I'm not saying the experience of people at away games not that, isn't putting people off, but the vast majority of people who go to Celtic Park and shout at James Forrest and shout at this and moan about the pies and stuff, they don't even know the posts are there, because it's a non-factor for them.
No. I see a change now that the Green Brigade are out. You've seen it over the last couple of matches at home, certainly from Christmas, that the cops are over on the other side of the ground now, videoing people. Those two fellas lifted at half time at the weekend for singing Celtic songs. If you bring a child, I was thinking, like, if I'm going to be coming to this stage in a couple of years where hopefully be taking my daughter, and I'm thinking, why would my child want to go here? Apart from me ramming it down her throat, it's not a particularly exciting day out. You go and you sit, and you're not allowed to sing or dance or talk. You sit there and you're afraid now to get up out of your seat or shout or be passionate, because you're being videoed by the cops, and they will come up and approach you. The stewards will come and huckle you out if needs be. And I've seen people complaining about people getting chucked out of the main stand this year for stuff. It's a factor for me, I must confess. I'm looking at it going, what's the point? You go over there and you end up with a criminal record for singing a Celtic song. What I was saying the other day, I had a row with someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, and they were saying, well, these guys are causing offence. And I said, who to? What Celtic fans are you offending if you're singing a song in the middle of it? Who are you offending? Those guys huckled over towards the Jack Stein end of the ground. They weren't. Who are they going to offend? There has to be some sort of offence to be taken by fans around or roundabout. I could see that if you were inciting a pack of 8,000 Huns over in that sort of, the far corner, close to away fans or whatever, are singing particular songs about Protestants or the Ibrox disaster, then absolutely, you could see where that would become a problem. But you're sitting in the middle of a pile of your own fans. In fact, not even a pile of your own fans. You're sitting in probably a half-empty stand with nobody around you for miles in some rows. And there's two cops starting videoing you, and then at half-time they're sent up to huckle you out. I mean, that's a factor for me, I must say.
Yeah, that's a factor, but what you'll find, Marty, is a lot of the times, if two guys are got a drink in them and they're singing throughout the game, a lot of the supporters around them these days are glad to see them get packed out, or actually went and complained about them in the first place. So, I mean, Scott will tell you, I mean, one of my mates was complaining the other week that when he does start a song, his mates don't start, and he gets all sorts of looks from people who act as if he's running up and doing the steps, waving his tapper on his head. So the atmosphere is that bad at Celtic Park now that singing seems to be a cause of annoyance to a lot of supporters, rather than what it used to be when we used to go every week. I don't know, Scott, you probably know more about that than me. You don't sing at the games anymore, do you? Home games?
No, it's changed. You've kind of got your age thing, and I mean, I used to always get a baby going to the games no matter what, and alcohol takes away your inhibitions. You know what I mean? And you kind of grow up, but what Marty's saying, right? I don't think it's worth the hassle. Do you know what I mean? It was something I said a long while ago. But
the important bit that I wanted to labour on was kids. Why would your kids go to watch Celtic? What's in it for?
Exactly. Only because
we're losing a generation of children who, when we went to football, it was exciting. When we went to football, Celtic were absolutely brutal, and we loved going to football. We still loved going. We loved, the whole atmosphere, the singing, the community, the camaraderie. Why would your kids go now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to be overcharged for paying whatever it is, £6 for a burger or something. Why would you go? I see my child over my child going, Daddy, I don't want to go back.
It's frustrating, Marty, because Celtic keep making inroads in the right direction, but they never ever take a full step there. Do you get that feeling? Like
like the new child friendly part of the stadium.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah. Right.
Brilliant idea.
And then the other way is, as you say, young guys are getting hooked out of their bed for singing a song. Celtic they introduced the Kerrydale suite, the Kerrydale bar thing, right? And people can keep telling me this all they want, that you're paying tune prices. Right, see, be honest, I don't pay tune prices.
What?
No. Listen to me. See the tune prices they're talking about. They're talking about places like the Corinthian and all that. Places I don't go. I'll tell you what. I don't pay $4.90 in a toll booth for a bottle of Magners. And I've not been in a kit. And people might say, oh, it's tune prices. Nonsense. Celtic don't need to. This is added income to them. They don't need to bump us. They've introduced these new a fish and chip type thing and a new pie thing, and I've got to say the idea's great.
Yep.
The idea's great, but it's got a bit to go. Once again, they had the fish and chip thing, and it was like $6 for a fish supper. Right? And I don't eat fish, but you want to see the size of a bit of fish. So I got a roll and chips which cost me £3, right? And it was your crappy chips. I thought it was going to be, and there's me being. It's the same as Celtic. I don't think they ever go the full hog. And you're right what you're saying. Why would you go to the Fitbin now? Rather, other than that's what people do. That's what we do. Because you're right what you're saying. If I have kids, I'm going to be dragging them along to the Fitbin, and they'll grow up in that way, and they'll have that youthful exuberance about them. But I don't know.
My point is, you're saying there that we go, but people don't go. The place is fucking empty.
Mm-hmm.
People have actually made a conscious decision to stop going to Celtic Park in their thousands. And Richie, I do take Richie's. I take all of Richie's points. You know, some people do miss the Huns. Some people don't like the football that's on offer. Some people think, well, it's a cakewalk anyway. You know, Celtic are doing things like at this time last year when we were looking ahead towards the Juventus game. We were bumping the fans for tickets for the Juventus match, and we were offering massive incentives for season ticket holders. You know, you entice people back. So clearly Celtic recognise, number one, that there's a problem, but number two, that they need to take every chance they can to maximise the money that they're going to get. You know, so they're paying. Season ticket holders may well have been looked after, but they're getting smaller numbers. So the additional fans who don't have season tickets were made to pay absolutely through the nose.
Yeah.
For their tickets. Remember the big queues down London Road. Give us your last thoughts before we shut it down.
Aye, well, it's a complicated kind of topic, but I agree with Scott. You know, just that Celtic, you know, they get a couple of new things in, but they don't do it properly. And I saw there's a picture going about the internet there of some disabled Motherwell fan who was sitting and had the view of the game completely blocked by 3 stewards sitting on chairs. I mean, who's in charge of that? And you know, that kind of thing is, and you know, that's away fans getting treated that way. Well, away fans probably get treated better at Celtic Park than some of the home fans. So you know, it's went stale at Celtic for the tap doing. You know, we've had the same man in charge. I'm not going to go on a Peter Lawwell rant, but we've had the same man in charge for I don't know how many years now. You know, chief executive only supposed to be in charge of a team and a club that long. You know, you're supposed to renew it. You know, there's a window for these kind of things. I don't know. You know, most big companies seem to change chief execs.
There's no way Lawwell's going to leave Celtic. He is on a winner.
No, he's plus the fact that he has a total run of the place. He's the absolute.
Yeah.
You know, he's the emperor at Celtic Park. His word. You know, nobody argues with his word apparently. You know, for what you hear. You know, and I mean, it's just stale. There's no. I don't think any new thinking is really taking on board. I mean, we're getting the social media seems to be no bad, and the app and all this kind of stuff, but still, you know, they're way behind what you see other teams doing. You know, in terms of the websites, what they could be doing with Celtic TV and all this kind of stuff. They just seem to be always one step behind other people. You know, they just seem to copy other clubs, and then they don't seem to put the investment in it, and it all seems kind of ham-fisted. I mean, Celtic Park and the inside it needs a good lick of paint. I mean, those kind of things, you know, they're small things, but, you know, I mean, it's a bit depressing going into Celtic Park. You know what I mean? If you go in and it's all done up, but there's murals or something, you think, aye, you know, this is good. You know, it's just psychologically. I mean, I went to the pie and a pint thing for my birthday a couple of years ago, so I had to walk from my seat to the place, and it was like walking through a building site. You know what I mean? Or walking through a close in Easterhouse or something, trying to get to it. And then when I did get there, you know, we got treated like idiots. You know, we went and ordered a pint. Just the game was about to start, and they sold us the pint. We sat down. The set-top whistle went. a guy comes there, security guy, you just need to,
took the pint off.
You're not allowed to drink that now. And then we explained to him, and he was basically threatening to throw one of us out. So why would you go back to that? You know what I mean? And then he's probably getting paid minimum wage. I'm not having a go at him. He doesn't want to be there. You know, he's just doing what he's told. You know, and the whole living wage thing and all this kind of thing. Nobody likes working for Celtic. Nobody likes, so there's just a whole malaise about the place. But I suppose Lawwell's in a, we're going on about it. Lawwell's in a place where, you know, it's a hard job to it's a hard job. Football is a hard job as it is, especially in a market like Scotland. So I'm not saying anybody could do a much better job than him.
That's the thing, Richie. I mean, it keeps coming back to the Celtic miss the Huns, and I reiterate the same statement over and over and over again. Celtic don't just miss the Huns. Celtic miss competition. Doesn't matter who it's for. It really does. If there was one team up against Celtic and they were pushing them for the title, then we wouldn't be talking about the Huns. Honestly, they just miss competition. However, as things stand, every team aside from Hibs and us are knackered, are totally knackered. And the sad thing is, you're waiting for the Huns to get their act together to appear again and give you a challenge. And there's a difference for wanting the Huns back than, see, to be perfectly honest, we need something. We need something. And you're right what you're saying about Peter Law. It must be a horrendous job for him trying to maximise as much as he can. And for Celtic to make a profit, you've got to give them credit. And in this attitude, you've got to give them credit. But you're 100% on the button. There's a malaise at Celtic, and it's everywhere. And I don't know how they're going to shake it. Certainly carrying on the same path is not going to happen.
Well, just to bring the curtain down on this conversation, I think we've been speaking for over an hour, so it's time to wrap it up. But I don't miss the Huns. They don't even enter into my mind, I must confess. And I look forward to the match of the weekend as much as anybody.
But right,
Scotty,
I'm going to challenge you.
Sorry.
Just see, there seems to be a kind of reaction when people say, when they speak the truth, I don't miss the Huns. I've said this to you in the past. I don't miss.
Oh, I don't even think about it. Don't even come into my.
But see, be honest,
mind at
no,
all.
exactly, because they play in like Monday nights and Wednesday nights, and you don't know nothing about it until maybe you bump into a Hun and he brings up. And I don't know if you do. I still.
Well, I live in Belfast, so I don't even bump into them.
Exactly.
Doesn't even come up in my conversation.
But the play. If you sit down and look at how do you fix Scottish football, then see to be God's honest, their name comes into it. And that's a 110% fact, Marty, because this is still a club in Scotland that can potentially attract 50,000. And if you're talking about a Scottish football surviving by itself, then their name comes into it. And I don't say that with any love and hope. It would be better for me if Aberdeen grew 3 times and Hibs grew, but that ain't going to happen. So there's the plain facts here. Okay.
Fair enough. The plain facts.
Boom.
That's the fact, Jack. Right, no problem. Well, that was good, and but maybe should look at getting a couple of different people around the table and having a proper where are we going discussion. Maybe for the next international break weekend when there's not much happening, that would certainly kill an hour. I am convinced. And as I say, we'll maybe try again to tie up someone from the fact or from the trust and have a chat about what's happening in general terms, in terms of the movement of the fans and the club and the relationships and all the rest. Okay, so this has been the Temporary Stand podcast number 44. I just want to thank you, Scott McCurry.
Cheers, Marty. Well done, sir.
And thank you very much to Richard Kidd.
No bother, mate. I'm sure we'll be back in the summer for number 45.
Next.
And I'm sure it'll be us three instead of some of the slackers who haven't put their noses above the parliament for a couple of months. But we digress. Okay, well listen, good luck to your teams at the weekend, and God bless you both. Hail, hail.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Well, that's us back in it. Hope you stuck out to this point, else I'm talking to myself. As always, we'd like to get some feedback on the Twitter, the handle being at temporarystand. You can email it direct at temporarystand@hailhailmedia.com, and you can get us on the usual message boards. As always, we'd appreciate the download, and we hope you keep listening to all the Hail Hail Media podcasts. I know I said it last time, but I expect we'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll have a wee bit more structure, a wee bit more content. But as always, cheers for downloading. Hail Hail, God bless.